Coming
years
up next
later,
on the Inherited
a friend of
Podcast.
mine asked me to. He just hit me out the blue. He was like, "Hey, can you be a stage manager for my production?"
Did you even know like what stage management
I had no idea.
was? Okay.
But hey, Google's here.
Got that right.
Before I even Googled it, I said, "Of course." Like, hey, let's do it. And so it was a huge production. Had no idea. Honestly, at that time, I didn't think about it. At that time, it was just doing what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I had turned into such a cold person just because I didn't have time to process feelings. I didn't have time to process emotions. It was literally take care of your family.
Mm-hmm.
You get a flower that's like, hey, this is what I want to do, and the budget is open. It's like, hey, well, let's run it. But, you know, a lot of times the idea doesn't add up to the budget. But, you know, we make it happen. Of course, we're gonna make sure that we give you, you know what I'm saying, what your vision is, regardless of what your budget is. Honestly, we're gonna make it happen. But the hardest part of production is always before the production.
Building a legacy, so watch how you step to me. You know what's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chillin', man. Building a legacy, so watch how you step to me. You know what's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chillin', man.
Yo, what's good? It's Sir Gates. You're now tuned to the Inherited Podcast. Once again, thank y'all for coming back week after week doing the podcast. But today, another special guest is in the building per usual. We got Miss Jasmine Hopkins, production manager, also into branding and marketing. So we're going to have a good conversation today. Really get to know her, get her background story, see how she got to where she's at now, personally and professionally. So you better get right into it. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing today?
I'm good. Once again, thank you for pulling up, coming to sit down and have a good conversation today.
Of course.
Your day been going well so far?
It's been amazing. Yours?
Nah, it's going good. It's always a good day to podcast, right? Cool. So before I get started, right, a little break the ice a little bit, but it's gonna be a kind of like a thought question, kind of keeping on brand, nothing too crazy. So I'm gonna ask you the question. We both gonna answer it. You can go first, ladies first, and then I'll answer after you, right?
Of course.
Okay, so today's question is, would you rather pick a path to leave a financial legacy or an emotional legacy, and why?
Financial or emotional? I would have to say financial.
Okay.
I believe just being a black, not just a black woman, but a black person, I feel like we've left enough emotional legacies. So it's time to go in a different direction. So that would be the reason for me.
Okay. It's ironically, I chose opposite because I had time to think about it a little bit. But only reason why financial to me, yes, is like the smartest. But when I thought a little bit deeper about it, was just like, say if I do leave someone a big amount of money or whatever it may be, if they're not like emotionally intact to be able to control their emotions as far as like spending habits or just loaning the money out or just not being just emotionally there to control it, then it may just be a waste to even leave it at that. But I mean, that's just those odds if that person is like that. But I had to choose emotional for that.
I definitely get that. I get that. I just think financially gives you more space to be the person that you are. Because when you have financial troubles, you don't have the space and opportunity to really venture into who you are yourself. You do what you have to do and not what you want to do. So I just think financially gives you more space to just be yourself.
I like
when
that.
You don't have those
true.
issues.
That's true. Because being financially free, you know, like you said, it does allow you to just expand your life more.
Exactly.
Sometimes you go travel more and your eyes get exposed to certain things. You come back refreshed and just really a stout. So
exactly.
But nonetheless, all right, so let's get into it, right? So the people want to know Jasmine Hopkins, right? AKA Savvy D.
That's
Savvy.
me.
Had to throw it in there. Real quick, shameless plug. Shout out to Sinead Fraser and Deep and Rooted. You see, you got it rocking the hat today, man.
That's my girl. Have to shout her out.
Nah,
absolutely love it. Olympics is on right now, so hey.
Get the collection. Make sure y'all shop.
Yes.
So what I want to do, right? I just still believe like everybody's past, their traumas, their trials, tribulations, kind of molded them into who they are today, and that kind of formed them to what they're doing today, right? So just take us back to young Jasmine, right? Just childhood, growing up, family-wise, just like what was a household like? Mom, dad, just friends, family, just that whole aura, and just take us through then, probably I'd say up until like college years or wherever that time is. Just give us a brief backstory about you and your life.
Okay. I grew up on the west side of Atlanta.
Oh man, sorry to hear that.
In a little project called Perry Home Project.
Okay.
So I grew up there. That's where we originally started at when I was born anyway. But my household has always been loving. We haven't always had the most, but we have never been short on love. So just growing up, I didn't realize we didn't have a lot of things. Just because of how much love was in my home. My mom and my dad were in our home. Same mom, same dad to me and both of my sisters.
It's a blessing.
Which is a major blessing. So I was never short on the love. Didn't realize what you didn't have until, you were exposed to other things. So growing up, it was rough. We were in the projects, of course, in my early years. And one day a guy got killed on literally our doorsteps. And
someone y'all knew, or it was just you just?
I mean, you just know everybody in the neighborhood, so we knew him. But he was just, a guy that was on drugs and things like that. So once my dad saw that on our doorsteps, he didn't care how much money he was making. He was like, "It's time to go. Yeah, it's time to go. I'm not raising my kids in the projects or whatever." So we left, and we took a step up to Southwest Atlanta. We went from like the Bankhead area to Southwest Atlanta, and it was better. Went to schools were a little better and everything, but it was still just really a Black community, which we loved. Our teachers were Black, principals were Black, everybody in the school system were Black, janitors, everyone was Black.
Man, I was an HBC, well, not an HBC,
right? Basic
school. You know what I'm saying?
K-12, yes, HBCU version of K-12. But yes, that's what it was growing up. And we had hard times, just like with my grandfather. He was actually killed by the police. Dang, so these are things that I dealt with growing up as a kid, but I still never felt I was short on anything. Then we end up moving later on to the South Side, where I got my first bit of people that weren't Black.
Yeah.
It was
that culture shock.
Yeah, it was a really big culture shock, and it was just a big change. And I had a hard time adjusting.
Yeah.
And so I would say that I was kind of the problem child growing up. And Mama, I promise you, I took that lady through the ringer.
I wouldn't even have thought. Well, let's say the story.
I took her through the ringer, but it was, my mom is such a loving person. She's she does not play the radio, but she is so loving. So even with all of the trouble that I gave her, even when I'm in trouble and getting whoopings, I never felt like my mom didn't love me or my dad didn't love me. But I was that child. I can't say that. And by the time I went off to college to, do my own thing, I was still just a wild child. Like I was very smart in school, but I was just.
To pause you real quick, not to cut you off. Were you the only child?
No, I have two sisters.
Okay.
I have two sisters,
and real quick.
My uncle, who's kind of our age, grew up in a house with us too after my grandmother passed. So it was really 4 kids in the house. But yeah, I was the middle child. The middle child. Well, I am the middle child with my sisters. But yeah, I definitely gave them their badge of parenthood.
Why you think so though? How did you end up being the problem child? It was just one of those, I'm just growing and finding myself and I'm just out here experimenting, or you was like probably dealing with somebody not made you mad, but like something happened, you was just being rebellious all those years?
I think I was just being rebellious. There was nothing wrong with our household. There was nothing going on. I just wanted to do my own thing.
I'm just doing me.
And when I felt like I was getting pushed back on that, that's when I wasn't out here just starting things.
Yeah.
I wasn't just out here picking on people or being a bully. And a lot of my issues was with authority, my teachers. Yeah. So, I was one of those students where I'm bringing home straight A's, a B here and there, but my conduct was crazy.
That's usually how it is.
And that was my issue. I was in a lot of fights growing up. And so I feel like now that's why I'm such a peaceful person. I had my time.
You done been there, done that.
Yeah, I had my time. So now I'm just like, you couldn't pay me to almost raise my voice nowadays. So
that's growth. That's all it is. It's growth.
Absolutely.
So take us back where you were saying happening in the college. So not to cut you off back then. So I said pick back up where you were saying.
In college, And I actually went to college with my godbrother, which was probably
The worst decision.
Absolutely. We gave campus hell.
You don't seem like you just as much of a problem, man.
And I'm glad it looks that way.
Yeah.
That's my goal. But yeah, we gave campus hell. It wasn't country living wasn't for us.
Mm-hmm.
Once we got back to the city is when we really started flourishing. But college, we just I can't remember half the things I got into in college.
Trust me, I understand. Where you went to college at?
I went to West Georgia.
Okay, that was my first option to go. It was West Georgia. Well, I only got accepted by two. It was West Georgia and Albany State, but I just felt to go to Albany State. All right, West Georgia.
yeah, we went to West Georgia. I mean, I made a lot of good connections in high school. I mean, in college, I still talk to some of those people, do business with some of those people, but I wasn't focused. I wasn't focused at all. I always had my faith and things like that in God, but it's just as far as authority and just being able to get along with people, I wasn't very good at that. I wasn't.
See, so it sounds like growing up, right? Like you had a good house. Of course, things weren't perfect, but it wasn't just much to like certain kids. They grown up without a dad or without a mom. Somebody died, got shot, and now they. Not saying it's a reason to wild out, but that's usually what motivates those things. But it sounds like you had a pretty smooth childhood growing up. So what do you think, like, after all of that, right, what was the pivot that made you just say, hey, I'm out here tripping. Let me just, you know what I'm saying, kind of straighten this on up and let me get right. So what happened there to make you just turn away from all that?
Yeah, because I mean, of course, like I said, my childhood wasn't bad. I didn't know the environment that we was living in. It was a lot of outside factors outside of my home.
Yeah.
Just the kids and the people that I would see on a daily, because of course in a project they have everything in that, in those walls. You have your school, you have your library, you have your corner stores. They don't want you to come outside of this. So I didn't really know what was outside of those walls. So I had kind of already had in my mind the type of child that I was going to be. So I was just rebellious from that point on. But just growing up, I mean, after, growing up and everything, the thing that changed me, my pivot was like, I would say at 21. It was 21.
Pretty young.
Oh, absolutely. Because at 21, I was still at the club 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
You just working to get by, to be able to pay your rent
and go back to the club.
And so growing up, my parents had went into entrepreneurship and things were really picking up for our family. We were financially stable. Everything was great. I was basically one of those 21-year-old kids spending my parents' money, having a good time. And we hit a wall. Like everything literally went crashing down in a day. Dang. And you had no time to adjust. You had no time to figure things out. And it was just me and my dad working at the time. And I literally had to go from clubbing every day, spending my parents' money, asking my mom for money with the rent. And because I didn't care what was going on, because I knew my parents had me.
Yeah.
To basically having to take care of my family with my dad. And it was literally a pivot in a day. Like I couldn't figure out what I needed to do. I couldn't go and take all these courses and get a mentor on how to grow up.
ASAP.
It was just me and God, like literally. And like I said, my mom has always had us in church. Like I don't care what I was doing on Saturday. Sunday, you going to church. And so it was literally what I had to just put my faith in him on what to do next, how to maneuver into this season of my life. And it was me and my dad just taking care of absolutely everything. My sister had just had my nephew, and my little sister was still in, well, she was just now going to high school. And so it was like I became a guardian for her, basically taking care of everything she needed, paying bills with my dad, because I told you when my family had went into entrepreneurship, so it wasn't just household bills. We had other things to take care of as well. And my nephew was basically a newborn, after this stuff happened. And so it was like I just had to grow up. I just had, because family has always been important to me. My dad has always instilled that in us. Like, nothing outside of these doors are more important than what's inside.
Right.
So I took that and I grew up. Like, it wasn't easy, because I'm still 21, but I had to pivot immediately. And And for a minute, I was very angry with some of my friends because I'm like, hey, like we hang out every day. We're supposed to be this close. And I'm going through all of this. Where are you? But I'm like, once I went to therapy and everything afterwards, it's kind of like, we were 21.
Right.
Like, what did I expect from a 21-year-old?
The commitment and all that
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I did, to this day, there's two friends that my godbrother that I went to college with, you can't nobody tell me nothing about him. The way he rolled that out with me and my friend Toya.
Yeah.
So Jay and Toya, those were two friends.
Shouts out to Jay and Toya, man.
Jay
first
and
foremost.
Toya. And actually, I have Toya's daughter with me today. That's who that is.
Okay.
Yes. They were literally wrote that thing out with me because it took years for it to get back on track. And they wrote that thing out with me from beginning to end. And we were all in the club, like clubbing. And my brother had just gotten to the music industry. So he had his own things going on. But they wrote that thing out with me. And it was not easy. Yeah. It was not easy.
I can bet. Like you say, it's one day we're here and not 1 week or 1 month where it was one day we're here and the next we're, you know what I'm saying?
Literally, by the end of that day, my whole life had changed.
And that's crazy. So were your parents kind of always like into entrepreneurship, or was just that idea of let's just navigate and switch to starting our own business?
They just navigated and switched because they knew they had kids to take care of. And my parents have always had a hustler spirit, but they were hustling through jobs. Yeah. And so once they moved us out to the South Side and they were more open and experienced more things, that's when they, pivoted and was like, hey, we can take care of our family this way, which it was working perfectly. Yeah. But, life happens. And so.
As it does.
It happens. And I mean, I am here to tell you, if nothing else happened, life does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been through a number of things. I have. So at 21, that was my major pivot.
Yeah, and I can just share some of the sentiments with that. Like for my life growing up, like what you experienced at 21, unfortunately for me, like when I'm the youngest of 4. So I have one older sister and 2 other brothers, but during their childhood and my family growing up, like I've had the same mom, same dad the whole time as well. Of course, nothing was still perfect, but when they was growing up, they got to experience the more of the we're doing kind of well side of things. But when I was born, like it was still kind of that. But as I got older to just be aware of whatever was going on, I got that in the stick. So all I knew growing up was struggle. They used to tell stories like, yeah, sometimes when we were kids, we used to be like the family in the neighborhood. People used to come to our house. We could leave the front door open and they know like, let's go to the Gates crib and this and that. And I'm like, when folks ask, like if somebody would have asked them, so how was family and asking me, it's two different stories. So with me growing up in Decatur, my family didn't even know I was growing up in some trenches I was in. They didn't even know where I was at half the time. It was just like the product of my environment of having to help them like survive and get a job and work. I worked since at a young age. So I know what you mean as far as having to help your parents out with bills. One, is kind of confusing because it's like, yo, you supposed to be feeding this stuff into me and this and that. But and it's frustrating because sometimes I remember I was at Stonecrest Mall working at Burger King. I leave high school. And I got out of school at like 12 o'clock, go to catch the bus. Remember the 186 Indian Creek, that 112 to Stonecrest. Hop out from work, and I used to get paid. It's like, well, I either need help with my phone bill or this and that. So I'm just like, God dang, it's like, is this what life is? So it kind of gave me a picture of maybe not saying just the average people or the family, but this is what life kind of is for one, Black people growing up in certain areas, but just like that kind of made me, one, grow up at a young age, and 2, of course, when I was 21 going to college, it not saying that growing up at a young age defaulted, but now that because I was trying to run from that. Right. Like, I wanted to leave home so bad and just whatever school had me, where I'm gone. So, but then getting into college, like I said, at 21 at Albany State, it's a party school. It's a football school and a party school and a party town. Right. Partying every weekend on a promo team to a party. So I get where you coming from.
Absolutely.
Having to deal with certain things. But so going through all of that, right? How did that kind of shape you mentally? Because I know that wasn't like that one day could have been just extreme trauma, going from like your life flipped at the drop of a dime. And I know it could have had some mental toll, but how did that affect you mentally after everything just changed for you? Now you got to just help fend for the fam.
Honestly, at that time, I didn't think about it. At that time, it was just doing what needs to be done. I feel like I had turned into such a cold person just because I didn't have time to process feelings. I didn't have time to process emotions. It was literally take care of your family. And it wasn't until I went to therapy 10 years after this happened, that I was able to actually really realize how it affected me, how it turned me cold within relationships and friendships and everything. It altered. I can't even say it altered me as a person because I hadn't found myself by 21.
You're still young and
but the person that it formed was a cold person. I was literally. It wasn't like I was a mean person. Like I was loving. Because I grew up in love. Like even growing up, like I had, like you said, I had that house where everybody could come to, and I think it's because my family, we grew up in the hood, and like my grandmother's house on North Eugene, which is right off of Bankhead, we would all go there every Saturday. Everybody knew we're meeting at grandmother. You don't have to call anybody. You don't. Everybody know they're bringing food. Like we all met up at grandmother's house. And so my mom turned that into the neighborhood house. Like all the kids would come to my parents' house. I remember one year we were in high school and one of our friends stole my little sister's bike.
Oh man.
And it wasn't malicious or anything, but we were out late in the neighborhood and his neighborhood was like 5 or 6 neighborhoods down. And so he just took my little sister's bike to go home. And my mom has this neighbor she's kind of bittersweet.
She's today's version of a Karen.
Kind of, you know, she's bittersweet because if you need her to watch your house, amazing. But if you need her to stay out of your business, count that out. You know, she's one of those neighbors.
Neighborhood
and so
hero.
When she saw the kid the next time, she actually called the police on him. Called the police. Police came, had him in handcuffs and everything. And my dad came out there, had no idea what was going on, but he just knew crazy. That they kept pointing at our house. So he went out there because he knew the kid because he was our friend.
Yeah.
And so she was like, yeah, I saw him stealing Raven's bike, which is my little sister. I saw him stealing Raven's bike the other day. So I knew next time I saw him, I was calling the police. So my dad was like, no, I let him borrow the bike. I let him borrow the bike. I let him take it home. You just didn't know.
Yeah.
And so when the police left and everything, he's talking to the guy. His name was Hollywood. He was like, Hollywood, what you out here doing? Why you stealing my bike? And he was like, man, Mr. Maurice, I had to, I had to go home, but it was dark and da-da-da. He was like, next time you need to get home and y'all out here late, just let me know and I'll take you home.
Yeah.
And he actually gave him one of our old bikes out of the shed. He was like, you can have this bike or whatever. But he was, my parents was just those type of parents.
Pops was being solid. Teaching a young man
Absolutely.
right from wrong. That's all.
Absolutely. Because my dad had it hard growing up. So he's such a family-oriented person. So we had that house growing up. Everybody migrated to our house. We had the basketball goals. Like, when I say we grew up in love, we did.
That
like,
was lit, bro.
Our parents hustled all the way up to the point where when we graduated high school, everybody got a brand new car. My sister got a brand new car. I got a brand new car. So that was the household that we grew up in. So it was a major shift when that happened. And so I would just say, like, with my parents, just it was hard to watch that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't grow up to where my parents needed me. I was able to be a kid.
Yeah.
And so when this happened, and I still kind of felt like I was their kid, even though I was of age and everything, I didn't have a problem doing it. Because I know if you could still do it for me, you would.
Facts.
Like, I didn't have to help my mom pay bills growing up. I didn't have to, go out here and work with my dad at 16. Like, they let us be kids. So it was really hard to watch that happen. That was extremely hard to watch. But because I knew my parents wanted absolutely nothing but the best for us. And they worked very hard to do it. But I was just like, I'll just take over from here.
Yeah, that was, salute to you for doing that. Because it's just like, one, being forced into a situation like that, like I said, coming from what you coming from, that's tough on somebody's mental. One, dealing with, you got, not like, I don't know what kind of environment you were around, like dealing with college kids and stuff of that nature and stuff in school, but if people find out your business sometimes, they want to sit here and try to talk trash about your family and X, Y, and Z and this and that.
Absolutely.
So that plays on your mental as well. And it's just personally, even if nobody else know, you just knowing like, bro, are we okay? Like, what we about to do? But at the same time, like you said, it's hard to, how you say, it turns you cold.
Absolutely.
Going through something like that, it's hard to kind of have emotions when all you gotta think about is survival. Like, you don't have time to be this loving person as I once used to be, this fun. Like, life is serious right now. This ain't no game, right?
And it's like you meet new people that you want to be friends with or be in a relationship with, and they just don't understand.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, as loving as I was and all of these things, I would give, and, you know, and I had people in my corner as well. I can't say no one was there for me.
Yeah.
But it was just hard to be who you wanted to be. And I can't even say who you wanted to be because I didn't know who I wanted to be. I thought I was just fine. Like, I'm just going through the motions. Like, everything will be fine eventually once we crawl out of this. And I didn't realize what was weighing on me. Like, I didn't realize it until it was literally on the other side.
No time to breathe, man.
Oh, absolutely not. It was go time. It was literally just me and God. Like, I promise you, I would talk to him like he was my homeboy.
That's how you should.
Every single day, I'm like, bruh, today ain't the day. Like, please get, like, I'm literally talking to him like, and then I'm working in corporate, so it's like I have to come in here with a smile every day, with a million things going on at home, and you can't be too much, and you know, because it's more of them than you.
Yep.
And so, and then I was one of the youngest people there. So you're young, you're black, and you're female. So everybody's at your neck. And it was just like, I'm trying to grow in a company. And not just for me, for my family. I have a little sister to take care of. I have a nephew to take care of. And so it was just, there was no room for emotion. There wasn't any room to be this soft,
never is,
delicate flower that everyone swears you need to be. I didn't have space for that at the time. I had to make things happen. And you can't be that person and make things happen at the same time.
Yep. To this from past experience as well, it's like dealing with like past relationships, right? It's sometimes the questions that come up like, well, why don't you either like hug this way or say something this way or that way? It's like, trust me, I can be that person 100% for you, but because of what I had to endure growing up, and there was a lot of that missing, it wasn't, I don't want to say rehearsed, but it wasn't like done enough for it to still just be a thing inside of me. Like, it may have started that way, but once shit hit the fan, it was like, I kind of got to put that behind you for a while, but then you just see, like I say, long term, how doing that affects you in such a bad way when it comes to dealing with other people. Like, I had to realize something about myself because it was so much less of love growing up and just hustle and survive. Like, when I used to hug a significant other, I noticed, like, I used to be turned this way a little bit. Like, I'm ready to leave. Like, I'm already ready to get up out of this hug and just move. I'm like, man, why do I do that? But again, through therapy and counseling, I've learned like those past situations of not knowing or seeing it or having to get it because y'all was in survival mode. It's just like, you're just not acquainted to that. So, but it's like, I'm grateful for those times because it revealed stuff like that to me. Like, hey, at this grown age, you're still not perfect. Like,
absolutely.
You're still affected by some of that stuff you went through as a child. It's just it's the fact that rock hasn't been uncovered by somebody or something to where you actually know what's going on. And I think it's going to be happening throughout your whole life.
A life
forever.
is a whole journey. It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's always it's a forever going journey. Like that dash between when you were born and when you get out of here.
Yeah.
That dash is a journey.
Yeah.
And I even have to think like, because as cold as I was, everybody in my life would notice how loving I was to my nephew because he was born during this time. So that was the only pure love, pure person that literally came out of this. And like people to this day, people think it's my son. Like that's how much I have him. That's how much I pour into him.
I ain't gonna cap. I thought he was too.
Everybody think he's.
I wanna.
He has an amazing mom. I promise you, his mom is amazing. Shout out to Tay.
Shout out to you.
But that's my light. Yeah. Like that's the only thing that literally kept me going. And my little sister, she's a spoiled brat, but that's my baby. That's my baby. But my nephew, literally, he saved me. Like everybody would say, "You so mean, you so this, you so that. Only person you like is Carson." I'm like, what do you mean? But he was.
That was that light.
Pure. Like, it was the light that I had. For you?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Oh, absolutely. Like that's my baby. So I mean, it's like So I think that's one of the reasons why I went to therapy, because through him I
was just
realized.
about to ask you that. What made you get into therapy? Now that we're here. Yeah.
I went to therapy because I have amazing friends.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that. And I would just talk a lot, and they would just be like, "You need to go to therapy." And I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm good." Like, what do you mean? Like, hey, everything's over. Everybody's on the other side of things. Nobody's calling me asking me for $20 anymore. Like, we're good. Like, what are you talking about?
Thanks. So.
Right. And they would even just within my relationships, they were like, "Girl, why you so mean to him?" And I'm like, "I'm not mean. Like, he know I love him."
Yeah.
It's like, I can't tell, you know.
Like,
but
you know you love him type thing.
Exactly. But it was like love was, in that moment, love had turned into being there for somebody, showing up for people, not pouring into people, not emotionally. It was my presence, what I'm giving. More tangible
type of love.
You know what I'm saying? What I can, not giving like monetary.
Yeah.
I'm not that girl anymore. I mean, I give. Don't get me wrong. But hey, I'm nobody's paymaster in the relationship. But it was like, I'm here, I'm showing up, I'm pouring into my relationship just mentally, but not emotionally. Like, I'm here. You don't have to worry about me. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Like, that was my mindset. And it's just like, girl, I don't even know if you like me. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. And I just be like, don't worry about it. Like,
it sounds like you turned into like a point A to B, like quote unquote lover or person, versus we start here, but you get this in the middle of me. Hey, I'm gonna call you. All that extraness. It's like you went to, I love you something. What you need? All right, let's do it.
That was me.
Boom.
That was me.
Folks wanted that little. Where the rest of the
what's the meat of this at? Like, I didn't have the meat. I just literally had point A to point B. You good? You need anything wrong? You need to talk.
That's my
like
love.
That was me.
Yeah.
And so, but I was that way with everybody besides Carson. And I would hear it on multiple occasions, like, you only love your nephew. You only show that love to your nephew. I wish I could be loved the way he's loved. And I'm like, what am I doing that's different? Like, I love you. I love him. And when I finally went to therapy, and I learned so much about myself. Like, I would break down after every session because I'm like, I just, you beat yourself up. Cause I'm like, I'm a horrible person. There was like, no, you're not a horrible person. You just have to have that meat. Like, you have to get out of this robot mode of living. And so once I went to therapy, I was able to pour into people more than just, helping people on your financial journeys or helping people build their businesses or even giving you relationship advice. I was out here giving out relationship advice and couldn't even stand one. I couldn't even hold one myself.
That's how I be sometimes,
and
man.
I'm like, girl. But once I went to therapy, I learned so much about myself. Just how cold and off-putting I was to just people and not even romantic relationships, but at work. Like, at work, we would go through our yearly reviews and everything, and I'm like, you do amazing work. You're amazing. Your team loves you. Everybody loves you. Whoop de whoop. But you're cold.
Hey.
Yeah, you need to be more open. You need to. Nobody feels like they can approach you.
Oh man, you was that type. Well, it seemed to be, I guess, in their eyes, that type. Yeah.
And so, of course, they didn't know. They had no idea what was going on with me. But just learning different things with myself in therapy, I just feel like I feel much more relaxed. I'm much more at peace. And even though I felt like I had peace during that time, it was just a different type of peace. Yeah. Like, I didn't lose my mind. I didn't run off and do drugs and things like that. So that was the type of peace that I had. But it's like, just as well as your mental has to pivot, so does your place of peace, what you call peace and things like that. And all of that has to change once your life is in a different place.
Facts.
And so once I realized that and held on to that, can't nobody take me out of that mode now. It's literally absolutely nothing you can do to alter that.
Man, therapy and counseling to do it to you.
Oh, therapy.
It's like, when I got into it, it was just like, man, of course, you may hear the stereotypical stuff as far as like, oh, black people scared of counseling. They may think it's crazy. Some think that, but some just don't either care to go or know about going or the benefits of going. But it's like, once I stepped into that room, I experienced two different people. But once I got into the right one, it was just like, man, it's just so refreshing to know that, one, you have somebody who's not being biased, whatever's going on, and two, you finally met I guess, the perfect match for that person to ask you the things that you never heard in your life.
Yes.
To even prompt you to know that something is wrong, because you would never know sometimes unless literally somebody else have to ask you a question or say it first and say like, oh man, that's why. So, but until you get into that space, you gonna be jacked up. Well, you might not even think you are, but that's why people will be perceived to other people like, hey, something wrong with you, dog. You may not know it, but it's like, nah, I'm good. But nah, you haven't had that moment to really have someone help you digging inside, unless you go, you pray to God and stuff. But still, in the physical, we got work to do ourselves. But that's why I highly recommend counseling, therapy, whatever you want to. Books
Before I had therapy, I had books.
I think I
was
hit therapy
definitely
first
a book
line.
girl.
Yeah.
I've always been a book girl.
Word.
That's been my thing. Growing up, I was that kid. Hey, Mom, can we go to the library? Like that, because we had a library in the project.
Yeah.
I was that kid that wanted to go to the library. I've always been into books. So because I've experienced 2 different therapists as well. One was in person. This was pre-pandemic, of course. And now within this last year, I started going to virtual therapists.
How you like that?
It's different. I'm much more of an in-person type of person, but she gets the job done. Yeah, my first therapist, it was a guy actually, which I loved him, Dr. Patel over there on Cascade Road.
Shouts out Dr. Patel on Cascade. Everybody shouts out today.
Guy, yes. So he would have me crying literally every session. But now I'm with another woman, and she's amazing. I love her because I feel like I'm in a different space in my life. So it was also time to pivot within, your therapist. And I feel like just with my first therapist, I learned a lot about how to manage myself. Yeah. And now it's more so how to manage relationships, which I love. I love her. I know I do not lie to my therapist about a thing. Like, I feel like, why would you go spend your money to lie? And I know she goes home, and I hope she's not violating HIPAA. But I know she's like, this girl here is crazy.
Y'all ain't gonna believe this.
Listen, because I'm laying it out, baby. I'm gonna get my money's worth.
But as you should, like, if any of my friends who either think about going or they're going through something, and I recommend therapy, I say, look, I'm gonna tell you this now. The best thing you can do is go in there and be an open book, and you have to tell the truth.
Absolutely.
Whether it's your deepest, darkest secret, traumas, this and that, this whole session is pointless if you up in here lying, because it's like they're gonna be answering to a lie.
Exactly.
It's not even what's going on. So they may be giving sound advice that may sound good and feel good to you because you know you lying, but
that's why I tell people, don't go until you're ready.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to just be open and honest, don't go right now, because you're going to be wasting your money. You're going to be wasting your time. And you're getting, like you said, answers to lies. So this is, you're giving them information on who you want to be.
Facts.
And so they're giving you answers based off of that, but you don't have clear answers for who you
really are,
who you currently are. Yeah. So I'm like, do not go until you're ready. Like, I recommend it for everyone, but in the season that you need it in.
Facts.
So
great sound advice for sure.
Yes.
But before we get off this mental health topic, right, so I'm gonna get into the business things.
Yes.
How important do you think it is it's important to be wise about the choice of your therapist, right? But like you said, your first one was a male and you're a female. For me, my first therapist was a male, but he was a white male. So certain things I was saying, he gave me, sounding good advice, but in my mind, it was just like, the one cliche, how could you kind of understand what I'm talking about if you kind of have not even a little bit of context, because you may not watch the stuff I watch, you're around the people I'm around. So how could you kind of give me a deep sound answer? So, but how do you feel the importance of either like matching the sex in therapists and also the race?
First, let me say this. Everybody that checks on my mind or my body is Black. Every one of my primary care doctor, my dentist, I don't care if you checking my toes, you are going to be a Black person.
Yeah, facts.
But I do not play that.
Yeah.
Everybody in my doctor field is Black, and I recommend that for everyone. No one knows Black bodies and Black minds like black people.
Yeah.
And your mind is part of your body. So I just consider that another medical thing that I'm doing. And so they will always be Black. My therapist will be Black, and everybody else in the medical field that deals with me. But as far as men and women, I believe I was more attracted to a male therapist in the beginning because of the space that I was in. I was a cold, hard person. And so I felt like I identified better with a male therapist because it's just the stigma that men are more so
harder,
logical. Because that's how I view I was more of a logical person than emotional. And so I was more attracted to having a male therapist in that time in my life. And so now that I went through that process with him and, I've been broken down to rebuild myself, I can live much more in my feminine era. Yeah. And so I was much more attracted to having a female therapist this time.
That's, again, good sound advice.
I just think it's about the space in your life.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like, the therapist, the first one I got, like, I was in the military, so I went just through the VA just to test out there before I started paying out something out of my pocket because they paid for it. So I'm like, all right, let me see what it's about.
Hey, it's better than nothing.
Dang, all right. Yes. So when I got in there, I'm like, this is cool. It's cool, but I don't know. Like I said, he was a good therapist, but it was just that barrier of the real deal.
Understanding.
Like, I didn't want to be that cliche person because I've always heard it before I went. Like, and no white person can never tell. I'm like, man, they still human. But once I actually experience it, I'm like, all right, I kind of get it.
They don't understand the unsaid.
Yeah.
You have to say everything for them to get it. And when you're dealing with someone of your culture, it's kind of like some things can go unsaid. They just know.
Yep. All right. So still real quick, if y'all got something going on, make sure I get y'all mental health checked out. Once again, If you go break your knee, break your leg, where you going to the doctor, if your cheese fell off a crack, as my mama was saying, your brain, you need to go ahead and get that checked out too. But so let's go ahead and get back to this, right? So as far as professionally, right? So what kind of gravitated you into this creative realm and just the realm of, I guess I would say just production and just content, film, just this whole realm of this stuff, right? So what got you into that field? How did that start for you?
I actually started before I knew it. Like I told you, at 21, everything kind of pivoted, and so we're still a family that likes to celebrate. So of course, my nephew was born. And we had to have parties.
He had to have a birthday you about to go party. All out for his party. Listen, yeah, I love him more than us anyway.
I mean, since the baby shower. Yeah. Listen, and shout out to my church. We had his baby shower in the chapel. Amen. Because we didn't have it, but we're going to have fun. Yeah. So I would have to design everything because who was about to pay for that? So I was self-taught on Photoshop and everything in college. One thing that I did not like about my college, it wasn't a HBCU. Yeah. I wanted to go HBCU. My mom swear Savannah was so far because that was my first school. And 6 years later, she sent my little sisters to Savannah. Oh, man. Dang, my dude. I'm glad that she got to experience that HBCU. But yeah, so our school, we had a computer lab that you were free to go to. You could just come in and do whatever you want to do. I'm going to
tell you why I'm doing this.
Hours in there on Photoshop and every other designing app that I could just to learn, teach myself. Yeah. So I was self-taught on Photoshop, Illustrator, everything Adobe. I taught myself. Because there wasn't just Google on your phone that you could go to that quick at the time. So it was just like literally just sitting on the computer for hours. And so when it was time for my nephew's birthday, I was like, hey, I can do that.
Get back on this computer for a couple of hours real quick.
And so I would design all his invitations, design the little banners and things like that. And so that's how I originally got started into that. And so people would ask, like, who did his banners? And I'm like, me? And at the time, I'm thinking my work is A1. I'm like, hey, you need it, here I am. And so I would design, even when Kaylee was born, I would design all of her things. So it was mostly just within my orbit that I would design everybody's things. And so then with my church, people started asking. So it just grew and grew. And that's how I got into branding. Because I look back on it now, like it was not the best work.
We all thought highly of our work back then.
It was getting the job done. At the time I thought it was A1. Yeah. But that's how I got into branding. And of course, technology grew. I was able to take different courses and just, better my work. But by then I had my freelance had just kind of took off, but I was still working in corporate. So I just took it from just designing things to doing events, period. Like, I don't care if it was a baby shower to a funeral. Like, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
You know, so I would set up, design everything on my own. My sister would come in and help me set up every now and then, but I would just do everything on my own. And I didn't actually know the name of it. I didn't know it was event curations and things like that. Hey, I'm just making money. And so that's how I actually got into event curation. And so within that, a couple of years later, a friend of mine asked me he just hit me out the blue. He was like, hey, can you be a stage manager for my production?
Did you even know like what stage management
I had no idea.
was? Okay.
But hey, Google's here.
Got that right.
Before I even Googled it, I said, of course. Like, hey, let's do it. And so it was a huge production, had no idea. I'm like, I would see these events, you know, and I didn't think like, hey, I will be running those events one day. It was just like, hey, I love to attend these events. I would love to speak at these events and things like that, just about my journey. But I never thought that I would actually be managing these events one day. And so I was a stage manager or whatever, and they was like, oh, you did a really good job. And I'm like, man, I'm about to get deep in this.
Yeah.
And so I'm one of those people. I went home, and I was probably 4 a.m. by the time I got finished researching and everything. I'm like, because this was the next step in my journey, and I didn't even know it at the time.
Yeah.
And so I hit him. I was like, hey, if you need me to do any more of this, let me know, da-da-da. And so he was like, all right, got you. Like, and it was just kept going and kept going. And I would get in there and I'd be like, hey, what you teaching him?
Yeah.
Let me watch you. Like, that's me. Like, once I get one foot in the door, I'm going all the way with it. And so he would say, you want to come over here and watch me do this? Like, you want to go out here? I'm about to go and show these people how to set this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on my way. Like, I'm switching from position to position just to know everything that I'm able to learn.
As you should.
Yeah. And so after a while, he was like, I'm going to let you be production manager of this one. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Went home, another full night of, research and making sure I know what I'm doing when I arrive. As much as I like to learn on site, I also like to come in knowing. Yeah,
crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Gotta be prepared in some kind of sense.
Absolutely, because I like to bring things to the table. Yep. I don't like to just sit at this table and suck in all the knowledge when you can do it from your home. You can research. Like during COVID, I took so many courses online. Google had so many free courses. Listen, I'm certified in stuff that I probably never get into. But I'm certified.
Just in case, though.
Yes. And so once I got into production, it just became natural because I have been doing it for so many years. And so now we're doing productions for Red Bull and Render ATL that I'm managing all of these productions. And so it seems easy, but it wasn't an easy progression. Yeah. But I absolutely love doing it. And I still love event curations and things because that's what my heart is. So I can do that, with my eyes closed. But there's always room to grow in production.
Life period for sure.
Absolutely. And there's so many different elements to production. There's in front of the camera, behind the camera, before the camera is even set up. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And I was say earlier to go back real quick, like when you said like I was self-taught, went to computer lab, and I tell you, we had the same exact story.
Really?
Like because I'm in like my realm of type of production, right? I had to learn video, audio, this and that. So back when I was in college, unfortunately, I had got suspended, like a financial aid suspension or something like that. But I was in Albany State, so I wasn't. My mind when I left home to go to college, I said I'm never coming back home, and I meant it. So no matter what, I ain't going home. I was kicked out of school, but I was still just staying on campus. But they had this computer lab was called the Mac Lab, full of iMac computers.
That's what I was.
I used to go in there. Well, you know AC. He did stuff for Sinead.
Of course.
I used to go in there, see AC in there all the time. Me, him, and boy Kai. And some computers, they already had the whole Adobe suite on there.
Yep.
But they had some kind of stock footage and photos. I'm in there every day. I don't know what I'm doing.
Just editing.
But hey, this look decent. Get off, go home. I didn't have it. Just Google a free editing website.
Yes.
Just try to work on there. But after a while, things picked up.
Absolutely.
Did one thing for again, like folks ask, how did you I don't know, but I do it for you.
You hear me? Because even in college, I was a promoter. I'm telling you, when I tell you I'm a hustler.
Yeah,
I get it from my parents.
Trust me, I can see.
Like we had this promotion groups because it was a party school. Like you said, it was a party school, and we had different promotion groups. And when I first got into it, they was like, okay, go out here, pass out these flyers. I don't really think that's for me.
Yeah.
Not really a flyer girl. Like, because I wasn't a people's person.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't be out here passing out flyers.
You was more introverted?
No, I wasn't introverted. I'm not about to be sitting here passing out flyers. Like, what else you got for me?
Yeah,
I do want to make the money, but what else we got?
You knew your value and what you was good at the time.
Exactly.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. And so me growing up, on the West Side, a lot of the artists that were out at that time were from the West Side of Atlanta. So I knew the rich kids and their managers. And and then I had moved to the South Side, so I knew Walker and the guy Cap that's on the song "Oh Let's Do It With Him." He was like one of my big. He paid for my books to go to school my freshman year.
Oh man!
So he was one of my best friends. So I'm like, what I can do is find a talent for you. So I got into that in college. I was like, I'm not gonna pass out the flyers, but I can get these people out here to perform at our parties.
Yeah.
And it was only an hour drive up from Atlanta. Like, I can get these people up here.
Yeah.
And so I would bring them, and then kind of start knowing the Travis Porter crew. So I would get them to perform at our parties because it was only one big club at West Georgia. And so once I got those people to perform, our production crew, our party crew really became the it people because it's like they got all the people at their parties.
Y'all had competition on campus? Like y'all had like
we did.
Like different promotion crews?
Yes.
Right.
And some of the people that were in our promotion crew kind of broke off and did their own things, but I kind of had that connection to people. And then we would go back to Atlanta and throw parties at Figure 8 and what was it? At the Underground Frequency.
Underground Frequency,
all of that.
Back then.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes. So just my connection to those people kind of paved my way and helped me pay for my things through college. Because I'm like, I just knew I wasn't that girl that needed to be passing out flyers. That I couldn't do it. That just wasn't my thing.
You know your strengths.
Yeah. So I'm like, I can find the talent though. We can still make it work. So that was my thing in college. Just kind of finding that talent. So I've always been the person like, once I get my foot in here, like I gave them a day of passing out flyers, but let's sit down and talk because I don't want to do that no more. Like
we gotta revisit this real quick.
Yeah, but let's revamp this working relationship. So I've always been that person like, once I put my foot in that door, I find my way.
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's how you should. It's like, hey, like me and my sister are just like you. Whether it's like I print custom apparel as well. Whether it's something like that or graphics or video, somebody will always ask, especially if I got the bandwidth to do it. May not know how, but our answer is yes first, find out later.
Absolutely.
But what that does most of the times, it just forces you to turn into a person you may not have thought you could be. Like, it's like, okay, man, these folks waiting for me to produce X, Y, and Z. I'm at this stage now, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's go time. Like, I kid you not. I have a little pamphlet of just YouTube notes. I used to be up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what day it is, and just like I'm gonna figure this out. Even with like Premiere Pro and stuff. Like some of my friends want me to help teach them, but I can't tell you like what every button is. But I know
how to work it.
Yes. But it's just I can guide you, but I can't teach you right now.
Exactly.
I don't know what this button, the name of it, but hey, this button does this to do that to get you this end result.
Exactly.
As long as you get there, I think we good to go. But
absolutely. Yes.
So yeah, just being a part of the sharing some kind of that same journey, it's beautiful to see like we're not alone in some of the things we go through as far as how we figure things out in life to just say, hey, I'm not settling for less. I'm not going to just let myself be scared of an opportunity because I'm not prepared right now. Sometimes you got to put yourself in that fire and what am I made of? Even if you do, quote unquote, fail, at least now you got a foundation to learn from to do it better the next time and the next time and the next time. So,
I always feel like God would never present me with an opportunity that I'm not prepared for.
Facts.
I may not know that I'm prepared, but I am.
He knows you are.
He knows what he knows what I can do. He knows the research and the work that I put forth with everything that I put my mind to. But if he didn't think I was prepared, he wouldn't have gave it to me.
We just got to stop being scared, stop letting other people project. they fears onto us saying, I don't know if you can. Nah, you may not have been able to do X, Y, and Z, but don't bring that this way.
Like, I'm not one of those people, well, I'll see. Like, no, I get it done. That's always, I'm never a person, I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to get it done. If I say I'm going to do, I'm going to get it done. And it's going to be to the best of my ability.
Does that affect, like, or what is called, like, your work-life balance? I deal with is just, when I'm locked in on something, it's hard to pull me off of it. It's just like, I know how to take a break, but if I legit just don't want to take one, like I'm gonna work through it. But most people be like, just relax, get up and walk, leave the computer and this and that. Like, do you battle with some of that stuff? You kind of got a grip on, like, from 1 to 3, I'm working. 3 to 4, I'm resting for, like, or you just.
I got a grip on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't play about my time. I do not play about my time. Certain things that I used to be a workaholic.
Yeah.
Because I had those years where I had to take care of everything. Today, I don't care what's going on. I'm going to hit the spa once a month.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to be at that spa for 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm not that girl that's just going to come in and get my massage and go home. I'm enjoying the jet tubs. I'm enjoying the pool. I'm enjoying the steam room.
Self-care,
I'm
baby.
getting my facial. Like, I'm going to the spa every single month. I don't care what kind of month it is.
Yeah.
I don't care if I have 20 productions or 2. I deserve the spa this month. And I make sure I take care of me. Every Wednesday, me and my friend Chrissy, we make sure we have lunch together, happy hour, every Wednesday, if I'm in town anyway. But I do have my months where it's like, okay, this month I have something every week. I'm out of town at least probably 12 days out of the year I'm gone. Out of the month that I'm gone. And so I have my moments where it's go time, but I feel like I have enough work-life balance that those moments don't affect me as much as they used to. So I definitely make sure I take care of my mental health, my body. I take care of myself because I've been that person where I can barely get out of bed because I'm going so hard, and because I dealt with my iron and iron deficiencies and all those things where I can barely walk up two steps without feeling like I just ran 30 miles.
Became football practice, something like that.
So once I took care of that earlier this year with my black doctor.
There you go.
But yes, once I just make sure I take care of myself because I can't do anything for you if I'm not okay.
Facts. They
So
always say, if you how can you fill up somebody's cup if your cup is half, or how can you give somebody else 100% of yourself if you're not even at 100% yourself?
Yes, it's like
impossible.
Like the old saying, robbing Peter to pay Paul, also goes with giving to people. Like
I never looked at it that way.
Like you getting things and you're not keeping anything for yourself. You're literally taking it from here to here. There's no, like you got to pour here first before you go there instead of just keep going that way. You got to take care of yourself.
Spitting facts, man. I'm telling you that.
Hey.
As humans, we got battery packs too. You don't charge what you gone, man.
Yes, you have to take care of yourself. So no, I don't have that issue anymore.
I'm working. Like, I'm better at it because of all the times people have had to say something about it. But it's just like, I guess it's like it's an excuse. Like, I'm so locked in on knowing, like, my family like come from nothing, and knowing like I'm like the last child to help keep the last name going as far as being the boy and this and that. So it's just not trying to use that to throw on my shoulder, chip on my shoulder, but it's just the realization of I don't want to be the last Gates. I'll be remiss if knowing, like, I seen what my family went through growing up, raising 4 kids, whether my parents may have made poor decisions in life, which made this and that happen, but still, now that I'm older, I can understand some of them poor decisions had to have been made as you get an adult. You know what I'm saying? So just seeing that, my work ethic is just like, I gotta leave something behind for whether it's God bless me with my own kids, nieces, nephews, cousins, whoever's in my proximity shouldn't have to start from scratch and have that, I got it out the mud story. Yeah, that sound cool for the hustle story, cool. But it's like
sounds good in lyrics.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But as the older you get, why would you set your kids up or somebody else up for that same struggle? It's just like, you know what you went through. Why would you even do it?
If you have the choice to, of course. If you have the choice to change that, of course. I mean, because one thing I'm big on is giving our parents grace. because
Facts.
they grew up in a totally different world than we did. Like, my dad grew up, when my dad was born, there was still segregation. You know, so the things him and my mom had to worry about, I didn't have to worry about
Facts.
growing up. You know, we still have our issues with racism and police brutality, but the things that they endured, I didn't have. It's not even something that I think about.
Yeah.
That they had to endure, and so I'm so big on giving our parents grace because they grew up in a world where there was nothing but survival skills.
Yep.
You know, I mean, of course, we have some people that came out and flourished and things like that, but our parents grew up in a time where the things that they worry about, the things that they had to worry about, they took that and they went through that and took that away from us. We don't even know what they blocked
Facts.
from us, you know.
I be wanting to know so bad sometimes.
Yeah, it's so many things that we don't know that they had to endure that we don't even think about. You know, like my dad, Lord have mercy, my dad has been through the ringer. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm just really big on giving them grace, and they gave us everything they had. They took us as far as they could.
Facts.
You know, so it's just like, take what they gave you and build on that. I'm not the person to beat my parents up in therapy. Like, yeah, my mom and dad didn't do this. They didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't
facts.
know. You know what I'm
younger,
saying?
I used to do stuff like that. But as I
Yeah.
grew, like you say, you got to learn how to give and accept grace. Like that was
Absolutely.
like one of the main things. One I learned with my walk with God, just growing up and just getting older. Period. Once you start getting in some of these situations yourself, it's like, I understand now, because I'm going through this right now with no kids and no this and that, and you went through the same thing with 4 or 5 kids and no car and segregation, and so it was just like, all right.
Like, my parents, the Red Dogs and all that, like, my parents grew up during that.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
real.
it's
I know about the
like-
Red Dogs, man.
Like, how do you feel just sitting in your living room and the police legally can just bust
in
up
your
in
door.
here, take all y'all to jail with no evidence of it? You know, these are things that they grew up in that we don't even think about. Like, because we feel like police knock on the door, I don't even have to let you in here.
Facts.
You know, and they can bust up in there and just rummage through your
That-
house and
it's
be
a
like, hey,
blessing
we
the
ain't
times
find
we
nothing,
living
let's
in.
go. Like, these are things that happen to my family and things like that. So it's like, they went through these things, so I don't have to. Like, I'm not starting in the projects. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I have to take what they gave me and just grow off of that. Be grateful that they brought me this far to be able to go to the next level. Because it's like, I can't hinder them for what they didn't know.
One that's
Can't.
past and it's over with. Like, what we gonna do? Keep saying,
Hey.
blaming mama and daddy did this. Right? At
Because
this
what
point,
they
it's our
didn't
fault.
do, there's so many things that they did.
Facts.
Like, some people weren't born into love the way I was. Some people don't know how to pour into people the way I'm able to. And you know what I'm saying? It's just so many other things besides
What we
being-
didn't receive from them type
It's
situations.
so
yeah.
many things that
Way
you
deeper
know.
than that,
and once
man.
you start thinking about what they did give you, you'll be good. Just take everything else and just grow it. Like, because you're in an opportunity, you're in a space to learn more for yourself. And I think even with our generation, we're so keen on having monumental moments.
Yeah.
And I hate that because, yeah, you want that. Now, it's time to keep it moving. But we stay stuck on one thing so much. So I think that's why we blame our parents a lot for things, because it gives you a reason to not grow.
Facts.
Like, one of
Speaking
my
some
favorite,
facts
like,
today, man.
I have it written on my like I'm one of those guys write sticky notes and stick them all over my windshields and everything, like my mirrors. And so one of my favorite quotes is always, "Yesterday's home run does not win today's ball game." So living on what happened yesterday has nothing to do with today.
Yeah.
Like, keep it moving. Yeah, you won that, you accomplished that. What's next? Like, let's keep it moving. If we call ourselves wanting to grow so much as a community, like, let's keep it moving. Like,
I love that.
you stop living off that one time you did this. Like,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. Like, what's
You hear that
next?
when you're growing up all the old folks. Yeah, back then, you know, I used to, man, I was the, I'm
All
like,
right.
bruh, what's
a
going
whole
on
new
now?
World Series going on, and you talking about last week's home run. Like, no.
Nah, that's great advice. That's
So,
great. Like, we gonna switch from business back to life topics, man. But we gonna go back real quick.
Yes.
So back in like production, right? So what is that day like for somebody who maybe listening or watching, they want to get into production management, branding, marketing. Like, so from the phone call to, hey, this our project, to the wrap, what is that like for a production manager?
Of course, you get that phone call and everybody just comes with an idea and a budget. Budget never adds up to the idea. Of course.
Sounds about right.
Every now and then you get a flower that's like, hey, this is what I want to do, and the budget is open. It's like, hey, well, let's run it. But a lot of times the idea doesn't add up to the budget, but we make it happen. Of course, we're gonna make sure that we give you, what your vision is, regardless of what your budget is. Honestly, we're gonna make it happen. But the hardest part of production is always before the production. Like literally the planning,
the pre-production phase.
Oh, it's like that keeps me up. Of course, like people see me on set on Instagram and things like that, and I'm on set from 6 a.m. to 3 in the morning. That's like, oh my God, he's on set for 22 hours. And I'm like, you didn't even see me last week.
Yeah.
Like last week I was up for 62 hours, But like it's the pre-production is so much more strenuous than the actual day. I think the actual day for your producers and things like that it's really the most enjoyable time because we get to see everything that we plan from having just the conversations and the renderings and from ordering, always from the smallest screws to know what goes into what to actually seeing it happen.
That process.
Yes, absolutely. And to see your clients happy and like, oh, you really did this. And it's like, you doubted us? You know what I'm saying?
You know who you working with?
Yeah. And so I would say pre-production is so much more strenuous. But actual production day, it's my favorite day.
Showtime.
Oh, absolutely. Even though I'm up for 20 hours, sometimes, that's not all the time. Even though you're up so long, it's amazing to see it every single time. It doesn't matter how many productions I do. I don't care if it's from a small conference to a big arena production. Just to see those things form after just phone conversations, it's amazing.
It's like, I guess it'd be like game day for y'all, huh? Like
Absolutely.
you practice throughout the week, and then now it's Sunday.
Absolutely.
All that hard work, trying to go out here and have some fun.
Yes.
Let's do it, no matter what it takes. Let's do it. Yeah.
And of course, our least favorite part is post-production.
Oh, wrapping up.
It's like, it's over with. Let's go on to the next thing. But, you have to get the job done.
Yeah.
So post-production is probably a week long, just getting everybody invoices in and getting everybody paid and all those things. But my absolute favorite part is show day. And pre-production, of course, is exciting too because you're planning these things and you're bringing visions to life. I just think that's my purpose in life is to bring people's visions to life. And so that's how I started with event curation, but now just being on a much larger scale within productions and things like that, just to see these things and, especially when there's productions where people are able to come in like when we did the Red Bull Culture Clash, and it was 4 different stages with DJs and performances, and you see the crowd enjoying it. You see them
like
enjoying what
done.
you did, and it's like there's no issues. It's just everyone excited and having fun. Everybody loved the stages. And it's just to be able to see that. So those are my favorite type of productions to where people are able to enjoy. I don't care if it's a conference or people are just sitting here, but you hear them whisper, oh, I love that. Oh, I love how they did this. I'm glad I can see this TV.
That show was good work.
Yeah. So it's like to hear those things about something that you've been planning for months. That's
so real quick. I heard a lot of, they say they love it and, this went well, this and that. On the flip side,
hey, you get that flip side.
when you, let me ask you these 2 questions then you go in any order. What was your most favorite production to work on to date? Like the one you're either most proud of or that's the biggest? And what was one of the worst production stories that you can talk about that you've experienced? Because you got the good and the bad of everything, so give one of each.
My absolute favorite production, we did Change Church Easter production. It was actually this year. We did Change Church Easter production at Gas South Arena. Huge. You can't say they sold it out because it wasn't ticket sold, but they filled every seat.
Packed that thing.
Every single seat was filled. But it was my favorite because I've never missed Easter at my church. And so this year I'm working on Easter at Change Church.
Oh, yeah.
But it was such an amazing service. The crew was amazing because we partnered with Change Church's crew.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, their crew was amazing. The energy over there is amazing.
But that was a blessing.
Because,
good people to work with.
Yeah, because a lot of people see these mega churches and they have so many opinions and things like that, but they have an amazing crew over at Change Church. Their production crew is amazing, and they're knowledgeable because, you get churches where they just pick somebody out to see, hey, can you hold this camera?
Yeah, they grow into their position.
Oh, but they're so knowledgeable over there. They know what they're doing. They have an amazing team. And it was church.
Shouts out to Change Church.
Shouts out to Change Church. But I also, that same week, I did do my Easter production at my church because we had literally moved to a new location.
It wasn't the same day, was it?
It was the same day. So I'm on the phone like, hey, no, tell them to put this on the LED screen. Tell them to put that on the LED screen. And I'm trying to watch mine to make sure everything is going. But I did so much pre-production for my church.
You were prepared.
Oh, it was smooth. But we had just changed locations. So that was a hectic week for me because I'm out in Duluth trying to get Change Church set up, but I'm also driving back tomorrow to try to get my church set up for Easter. So it was amazing to see both services go without a flaw. Like,
that's a blessing.
Flawless services. But it was church. So I'm like, I'm praising and I'm getting paid. Let's go. So
2 people praise and pay, baby.
So that was absolutely my favorite production. I can't say I've had a production that was just horrible.
Yeah, I guess not like just like a whole like this thing just went bad, but just one of them moments.
I think
or how about this? Not to cut y'all. What are some of the things that go wrong in productions then? Like if you in case you haven't had many that just totally went south, like the things you experienced that do go wrong.
We had an issue once with a venue. Well, it wasn't anything that the venue did. But we had a rigging system that we had planned out for months. It was, rigging is when they put the truss up to kind of change the ceiling, kind of, sort of. It changes the ceiling. And so we had the system laid out. We had all our men ready to go, and we got to the venue, and they was like, oh, yeah, you can't do that. It was like, wait, excuse me? Like
this month long idea, we can't do what?
And so we didn't panic, but it's like you said, we had to pivot in that moment. So it was literally building a ceiling as you're doing it. So you don't have, like, our plans just went out the door. All these plans we went and got printed out. So you pretty much had to
create a new kind of new style of a ceiling. Okay.
As we're doing it. So it's just those type of hiccups, which is, it's a headache in that moment, but once you get it done, you feel like I'm undefeated. See how we got that done? You know what I'm saying? So it's a headache in that moment. But it's like, hey, that's nothing for us, But it was kind of like, what the hell? But we kind of always get it done. Yeah. We get it done every single time. So that was one of the moments where I was like, oh my God. And it was one of my first times being a production manager. So it's like, oh my God, I'm going to fail,
Yeah,
but
it's all on me too.
Yeah, and everybody's like, so what are we going to do? And I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
What are we going to do?
Let me go use the restroom right quick, But I'm like, okay, so I went and I shift and at that time we had a female that was actually the lead rigger, which is usually a male industry.
Because of the weight and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and just, going up in those truss, going all the way up to the ceiling. These are apartment ceilings or house ceilings, you know what I'm saying? And so in these arenas, you have these guys going up, and we had a female. Her name was Vanessa. Shout out to Vanessa. That's my girl.
Shout out to Vanessa,
That's my girl. I love Vanessa. But yeah, she was our lead rigger. And we worked hand in hand, of course, along with our producers and everything like that. We got it done. But those are the times where it's kind of like hard in that moment. Yeah. But, it gives you an extra chip on your shoulder. Like, hey.
At least you got it. Sounds like y'all got a well put together one team for strategy. And now that I see execution, the fact that y'all had to pivot same day on something that big and got it done. Y'all are well put together. So kudos to you and y'all. Here's some flowers for y'all to take back for all that. Y'all doing the thing. So what would be your dream production? Like one you thought about, like, man, I would love, either it's something that it can be done, you just got to get to it, or you just thought about it like, this would just be the best production for me ever. Like, what would that look like for you?
My dream production. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever thought of that.
You got some time. Man.
Yeah, I've never thought of that. My dream production, honestly would probably, because I have so many amazing friends that's in different industries. Like one of my friends, she has one of the largest growing foundations in Atlanta right now called Flowing with Blessings, which you probably have heard of.
I heard of, yeah.
So we're thinking about so many different things. And then of course I have a friend, Shelly, that's in event curation and production as well. She also has a brand called God's Favorite Home Girl. I have so many friends and family that's into production and entrepreneurship. Like my sister, she has a brand called the Mommy Mafia, and they have events as well. So if I could bring all of my friends and family together,
it's like,
because I have friends that own restaurants and things like that. Like my friend Camirio, he has a restaurant called Soul Good that's always donating and helping me out. Like he's the best guy. I literally use them for everything. So if I could bring all of those companies together, have So Good, definitely shout out to So Good. If I could have So Good catering and, providing the food, just bringing all of my friends together under one roof and having a major production, that would probably just.
I think, even though I don't know what other thoughts you have had, but just from the sound of that probably, like in my life of things I love to do, that would trump probably anything to me. Because it's like, it's people one you care about and close to you, and it's like, we did this together versus, of course, we get a client, you got a client business relationship, but it's nothing like, these are my people and look at what we did.
Exactly.
So you gonna do it too, don't you? You gonna do it.
Absolutely.
You gonna do it.
And they know I will. Like I'm one of those people, you bring an idea to me, you better be ready to let's go right now, today. Like don't bring it to me unless you're ready. Like, cause my sister's that way. Like that's how we started one of our brands, Black Vendor Expo.
That's what was next.
Yes, we started Black Vendor Expo. My sister came to me and was like, she had a brand, Mama Mafia. And she was like, well, I want to have a pop-up shop for moms. And this was like right when the pandemic had kicked off. And I'm like, you know what? Let's take it up a notch. Let's have let's have an exposition for all Black brands, because it was a time where everyone was pivoting and shifting, and some people were getting laid off and starting their own brands, and they needed something, they needed a pedestal to be on and a platform to showcase this. And so that's how me and my sister came up with Black Vendor Expo. And our first expo actually had 25 vendors.
You had 25?
We had 25 vendors, and it was such a small space. But after that, people were like, how do I get in the next one? I'm like, next one? I was just looking to have one big event, And so I was like, hey, we need to have one next month.
The man was there.
And so next month we had 25 vendors again at the same spot, but we had a wait list. And so the wait list had about 15 people. And so the next week we did 50 vendors. I mean, not next month we did 50 vendors. And my friend Shelly, she has a birthday every month in August, which is about to go on now. Lord.
Praying
but
she has
Shell
type
Week.
to say, it's my birthday month, not day.
She's a birthday week.
Okay, that's a little bit.
I'm a birthday month.
Oh.
I'm a birthday. I drug my people this year. Okay, I had something going on every week, but she's a birthday week girl. So she wanted to do an expo in collaboration with her brand, and so we took it up. I think we had like 65 vendors for her birthday.
Oh, that's hard.
And so Shelly was like, she's that girl. She's kind of like me, like, we can grow this thing. And so me, her, and my sister sat down and had a meeting, and we found a bigger venue. And so we took it up to 75 vendors. Yeah. And so we got to the point where we were having over 100 vendors at our events, and we were collaborating with some huge brands. We collaborated at Turner Field. No, it wasn't Turner Field. What's the name of the new one? Truist Park.
Yeah, right.
Truist Park. So we had an expo there in collaboration with a Black company, Minority Baseball Prospects. They have a baseball company where it's literally geared towards all minority groups and
That's
Black
dope right
kids and everything. It's an amazing company. So we partnered with them. They were having an all-star HBCU game, which was huge. So we partnered with them at Truist Park. We had almost 200 vendors there. So it just kept growing and growing, and it just became this huge thing, and it
That's
wasn't
beautiful,
more than what I
man.
thought it could be. It moved faster than I thought it would, because our community really showed up. Atlanta showed up, and
Community
showed
is
out.
everything.
Absolutely,
Wow.
I'm huge on just promoting Black brands, and like I support. Listen, every day you can count on me to have something
Yeah.
from a Black company.
Yeah.
I already told you about my Black doctors. I don't play by my Black people.
It ain't
Listen,
black, it ain't right.
yeah, so it grew. It grew. It's more than we could dream of, and so we're revamping this year. We want to take it more on a larger exposition scale. So we're in the works for some different vibes.
Shouts out to you,
Yes.
man. And more flowers for y'all.
Well,
Yo, you
thank
doing
you.
like great
Thank
things. Like
you.
what else do you have your hands in, man, outside of the Black Bananas? I've seen a couple of more businesses listed on that in the bio and stuff. So let them know what all you got going
Well,
on.
I also do branding. I have my own set of clients, which I started freelancing with branding while I was working in corporate, which I did corporate for 10 years. So I started freelancing in branding. It wasn't anything major until I really decided that I wanted to leave corporate, and I began to take it really serious because I needed to figure out how to shift. So I started doing client-based only. I wouldn't do freelance anymore. I needed my clients to have contracts. I needed contract-based clients only. So it would be yearly contracts or 2-year, however, because I needed to scale to see what I was going to be making for the year. You know, I can't go from knowing exactly what I'm getting every month, as
it's just
salary,
like-
to just like, hey, you need work, So
Holding up a sign, we'll work for
exactly.
production.
So I started taking that seriously, and I had 2 major clients. Actually, my church was my first client. So shouts out to Wings of Faith.
Well, there's so many shots going on
Yes,
today. I love it.
because hey, people are good to me.
Community, yeah.
God shows up for me through
Yeah.
my people. So my church was my first client. I had been going to that church since I was born. It's actually my uncle's church. And so he trusted me with his company first. Just whatever I wanted to do, how I seen, how it, how I felt like it should flow and everything like that. They just put it in my hands. And so once I saw that flourishing, actually more of my clients came from my church. And so then the pandemic hit. So once the pandemic hit, a lot of people's businesses took a hit. And just grateful to God, my business flourished because everyone was going online. Everybody needed marketing materials. Companies that had been out here for 20, 30 years that never had to market because everyone was in the house.
Yep.
And so my client base grew. And so that's when I was like, it's time. It's really time now. I had completely supplemented my salary. And so I was like, it's time. And at the same time, my jobs were doing layoffs. And you're like, so I'm just trying to coast this out.
So it was an easy walk off.
It was just like they were doing layoffs. And I'm like, whether they let me go or not, I'm out the door. And so my mom was still kind of like, why would you do that? Because she had shifted to a place of being, in this hustler environment to when everything happened with us, it was more so she was thinking about my financial security.
She was still traumatized on what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got it. I'm going to take care of me. I got me. And so just grateful to God, I haven't missed a beat.
Yeah.
I haven't, some months were harder than others, but I didn't miss a beat. And it's like, I trusted God, I just follow his footsteps. And wherever he tells me to pivot, we pivoting. Like, I don't care what's going on. Like, I've missed out on money because I'm like, this isn't for me.
Amen
So
that,
as long as I feel like I'm following him and doing what he's put me here to do, I won't miss a beat.
Nope.
Times will be hard, but I trust him. I trust him. I don't care what's going on. It's just
As
like,
you should.
it's me and him on this journey. So that's the
telling
place
you
I'm
that.
in.
Everybody's faith sometimes may not be as strong as you may want it to be, but when I tell you, when you finally just lean into it, but no matter where you at in that walk, if you just get a little bit of that of the fruit from that, it's like you can't. There's no going back from it like that.
Absolutely.
Just leaning on God. I remember it was maybe sometime last year, and of course I always heard the saying like let go and let God and this and that, but it was like for the first time that I not heard that saying, but felt what that
It's a
felt
different
like.
thing when
It's
you
a
feel it.
totally different
It's
thing.
different from from hearing it and hearing it in church and even seeing it happen to other people is different when it's your story.
Yep.
When you actually, it's like, okay, people say God is good. It's like, no, I know he is. Like I've been there to where he's proven to me that he is amazing.
Facts.
You know, I haven't always been the poster child for holiness.
Yeah.
I've had different relationships with God, but it's different when you know, like my story proves to you that God is good.
Yep.
You
That
know, so it's
testimony,
totally
man.
different at that point.
Yeah.
Like when I can actually tell you from my life what he's done, it's totally different.
That
It's totally
experience is
different. Because
crazy.
I've had different relationships with God. I went from living on
Same.
my mama prayers, you know, to having to pray for my mama. You know what I'm saying? So it's totally different when he's been that person to you versus hearing what he could do and knowing what he's done to you.
That
So it's totally
experience
different.
is
It's
telling
different.
you, man. I had some people even just looking like, and asking, why are you not stressed? Or I'm just like, I can explain it to you right now, but you're not gonna be able to feel what I'm feeling right now. So it's like I can tell you the whole, letting go and trusting God. But you're gonna take it as like, here that go again.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like it's gonna be hard to kind of explain to y'all like why. Cause I'm sitting here happy, knowing what's going on, but it's like this time I know it was straight. And then lo and behold, it was straight. So now you got the proof to tell for like you see what I was. Now you see why I couldn't explain.
Because even when you
myself.
don't trust him, he got you.
Facts,
Even when
man.
you don't trust him, he's gonna prove to you that you should have.
From
There
the
was
first
no
place,
reason for
yep.
you to stress. There was no reason for you to worry. Then there's always reason for you to do work.
Yeah.
But stress and worry shouldn't even be in the picture. Like, cause your relationship changed. Like I went from just praying to God that I don't get a whooping when I get home. Like that's the only time I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Like God, please don't let my mama whoop me when I get home.
The preventative prayers.
You know what I'm saying? Like I went from in
God, I
college.
won't do
went
this
from,
again, Lord. Please.
You hear
After
me?
that, crickets for days or something. Yeah,
I went from
it's
praying
crazy.
in the jail cell in college. Like, please
You ain't
don't.
tell us that story. Why you get locked up for?
Listen.
What happened?
I went from praying in jail cell. Like, please don't let my mom pick me up. Please let it be my daddy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want my mom. I don't want to hear her mouth. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, so I'm just like went from having those type of moments with God to just like, what's up?
Yeah, that's
Like that's how I take. Like, what's up? What we doing today?
That's them
Like,
talk, man. I'm
you
telling
know what I'm saying? Like, God, I know this meeting gonna be amazing. This, you know, just having real conversations with him and not asking, just thanking.
Yep.
So it's your relationship changes with him, and it's like anything else, it evolves.
And everybody walks different too. So like nobody should be
Absolutely.
scared to, oh well, God don't bless me like he blessed you. It's like sometimes some folks be putting on like they getting blessed and it's really not God blessing them. So don't take all that for a grain of salt too. So it's just like everybody
Absolutely.
walk is different.
Yes.
Do your walk, how you gonna do it and this and that. But we about to taking you out to church and everything.
Listen, hey, that's
Hold
my favorite
on.
place to go now.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so what I want to know, right, for anybody who may be watching this show, time to get personal with your audience, right?
Okay.
There may be a young girl, a young boy, whomever that just say, hey, I want to be on your path of what you're doing, production, marketing, and branding, or I just want to be at a place in my life to where you're at now. So if you had any advice on the professional side and just life, personal side, what would that be to just lead this young boy, young woman, or older? Some folks, sometimes they need our advice too, no matter how old they are. But what would you tell them to just motivate them, just give them some good sound advice to just get up and make that push and keep going and stay motivated?
What I would say, I'm not really big on giving advice on journeys because everybody's journey is different.
Facts.
And we all realize things at different parts of our life. So the reason for my pivot, which we have learned here today, would hopefully isn't someone else's reason for pivoting. But what I do say, I would definitely tell people to not only trust God, because everybody's not in that position. I mean, you know, everybody's not as strong faith to be able to just totally trust God in this moment.
It's a process.
But don't don't get a lot of opinions. I'm not big on opinions. I'm just not that person that, you know, if I have an idea, I don't need to hit 20 people to know, is it a good idea? Trust yourself. You know, if your relationship with God isn't as strong as you would like it to be, trust yourself. Don't trust what people may say, because just like I'm on a different journey from someone else, they are too. They may be in a position to where they can't make any leaps or jumps. Things may be in a survival mode for some of your friends or family members. So their opinions that they give you today can affect you forever, and they may not even feel that way next week. So be really keen on tuning in and trusting yourself with your decisions. Always be honest with yourself on your position in life. Because just like I say, I left corporate. Like, that's not everybody's place. Don't get up and leave your job.
You don't come blame me. You was
Listen,
savvy,
listen, I ain't got nothing on nothing. So don't get up and leave your job. If it's because it took me 5 years. I knew 5 years within my job, I'm not doing this forever. So I didn't just get up on a Tuesday and was like, hey, by Friday, I'm out the door. I literally planned this out, that I was going to leave this job. So do not do anything from someone else's view, because that's not your place. That's not your time. That's not your journey. So always trust yourself, trust God, and live in your purpose. Live in your purpose. And I know a lot of people say the dollars will come. It costs to survive. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so if you can do
indeed.
both at one time, everything's not going to be your purpose, but live in your purpose. Every dollar you make isn't going to be towards your purpose, but it can plant the seeds for your purpose. Like, of course, some people say, well, I work at McDonald's. That can't be my purpose, but it's planting seeds for your purpose. Yeah. You don't know if the customer service skills that you're learning are leading towards your purpose. You don't know, you know what I'm saying? Somebody may walk into your McDonald's that can help you, on your journey into your purpose. So I always say, do every job full out. Like, I don't care if you sweeping the floor, shine it. Because you don't know who's going to walk across that floor and say, hey, I need this person. This person has amazing skills. They take every job and do it to their fullest ability. So I'm always big on, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, and that's my honest, I cannot tell people to do anything outside of that, because I don't know where you are in this moment. So I'm just really big on trusting yourself, trusting God, and doing everything to the fullest. I don't care what position it is right now.
Amen to that. I'm telling you, you spit so much facts tonight. And one thing my dad always told me, I remember to this day, I was outside in the driveway washing one of his cars, and I know for a fact, like, I know I cleaned the hell out of that car. Like, I cleaned that car crazy. But he may have found like one little thing or something, this and that. He was like, son, no matter what you do in life, and especially in the times when it's not for yourself, always do it as if you was doing it for yourself times 10. Yep. Like, make sure if you're working for somebody else, folks may say, oh, he over there being a goody two-shoes, go in there and bust your ass. And because
absolutely,
people see, they notice hard work and sometimes reward hard work. And one, for a fact, it builds character in you, and it just shows you about who you are as a person. So don't go in here and imagine if, like you say, somebody working for you for production, hey, can you go put this boom mic over here, and they go and just sit it down and throw it down. It's like,
exactly,
because it's not yours. Yeah.
It shows what you do behind closed doors and when no one is watching. And honestly, that's when the most character is built with the person. When nobody's there to witness what you're doing or how you're treating people. That's when character is literally, that's the foundation of your character. So I literally say do everything full out. Like, I don't care who's watching, like, because now I'm really into like going to the gym, and I literally hate the gym. I'm not even gonna lie. I hate it. I hate it. Like, but I go and I make sure that I do it is because it builds discipline within me. And especially being an entrepreneur and things like that, you have to have discipline. And I hate the gym. And a lot of people are like, why are you even going? You don't need to go. You look like, I don't care what I look like. It's building my discipline. So I'm getting up and I'm going, And so it's like nobody would know if I don't go, and because I go in where I live, so it's literally nobody in there. I can go in there, be on my phone, just get up and take a picture and go home. It'll look good to Instagram that I'm in here. But I'm in here and I'm working, but it's like, it's building my discipline and my character. So I'm really big on things like that, finding things that can help build your character and your discipline. That's why I'm really big on books and things like that, because you learn so much. You learn so much in books, and I'm not really a novel girl. I've always been a self-help girl.
Yeah.
Like even growing up, I would read books about Bill Gates. Like I don't know why. I would read books with Tyra Banks. Like just learning, hearing about people's journeys and things that they've overcome.
Your spirit was feeding itself and doing it on it. Yeah.
And so it's just like I've always been that type of learner, just to sit back and learn. You know, that's one thing I would definitely tell people to read.
Facts.
I will read the back of a pamphlet. Like I'm like, Like I'll be
What
on the
is this?
train reading everything. Like, oh, I just love learning things because you never know when you're gonna use these things.
Like you are, like I am, kind of, I guess, a junkie for knowledge. Like
I am.
If I can get a chance to just learn something, I enjoy that more than like quote unquote fun stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a while to where now, if you in the car with me, I'm sorry. I mean, my music ain't on no more these days. It's a podcast or audio book. So I mean, it depends. Like if it's one of them moments where I know we gotta set a vibe, and like, all right,
that's me though.
All right,
that's me. That's why I say learning what season you're in.
Yeah,
because for I would say about 3 months this year, I didn't listen to any new albums. I didn't listen to any old albums. Like I would listen to spa music and my gospel playlist. And that's it, because I was going through a time where it was a big transition for me, just mentally and spiritually. And so I was like, I can't have these type of influences.
Yeah.
Like, cause I'm not even the person to really read into music. Like if you got a good beat, you want me. I don't care what you're talking about. Like my shoulders moving, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Job done.
Yeah, but I literally didn't listen to any music. Like only when like my girls were hanging out and they would have on music, like I would listen to it. But like I literally now to this day, like I go to sleep to spa music and I don't cut it off until I leave my home.
You like going to sleep to rain music?
Yeah, well, it's a spa playlist because you know I'm a spa girl, so it's all type of sounds and everything. So I literally from the time I get in my bed until I leave my house, that's the only music that I listen to. Now in the car, I'll cut on a playlist every now and then, but that's what I do. Even like with my movies, I'm a documentary girl.
Man,
I'm a documentary girl, and it gets on my little sister nerves so bad. She'll be like, "What you watching? I need something to watch." I was like, "Girl, watch this." She don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I don't want to hear. I'm like, "It's a good documentary, girl."
It's like I love a good movie now. I love a good script, but it's like with a documentary, it hits more harder home for me only because it's like this is based off of something that actually happened in life, and I could possibly. Not saying I'm always trying to learn something, you know I am, but
That's always
it's
something
just
you
like
can learn in everybody's story.
Yeah, it's like
you can
wow,
learn something in everybody's story.
You would have never thought until you were exposed to this documentary that this was happening in real world life.
Exactly.
Like some of these stories, be like, what?
Yes.
So yeah, I'm a doc
and I don't
guy
care
as
what
well.
it is. Like I sat and watched a documentary about who had the first drive-through. Amazing, loved it. I still remember everything to this day.
Yeah, I gotta watch it.
You know what I'm saying? It's just I don't care what it's about. Like I can always learn something in somebody's story or in somebody's evolution of their business. I don't care what it is. I feel like there's always something to learn.
Facts.
So and sooner or later you're gonna need some type of information.
Tell you. Now keep your eyes open.
I'm that girl.
It's like some key things that I got from this conversation. But one thing real quick when you said as far as like doing things right when nobody's looking, like that, I'm big on that. And two, I'm sorry to tell y'all, but I know we ain't supposed to judge folks, but if you one of them people who don't push that cart back in that thing, I'm judging you.
Listen.
But
because I remember and I write it down. I'm like, didn't I tell so-and-so to put this over here, But
I don't know why I can't stand. I mean, it's nonetheless something smart when folks getting them buggies from the store and just like, I'm gonna leave it here like, bro, go put it back in the little buggy holder.
Yes, and like at Publix, they don't have a lot of those.
Yeah,
I would literally take it all the way back up to the store and put it back. Because I'm just like, I can't just leave it out here. You know what I'm saying? And even though nobody's gonna, who's gonna do something to me? But it's just like
doing the right thing with nobody. It's like stuff. It's practice though, for real. It's like building yourself to know again, and nobody looking. Let me get right.
And like when you do have people watching you, like I have my nephew and he's with me a lot, and so it makes you second guess what you're doing. It makes you think about it, and it's like, oh, I have to teach him this. Like even though I know this is right, I'm just not doing it right in the moment. I got to do it right because he's watching, And so it's so many things that I try to talk to him about and show him, and so I try to make sure I'm always treating people right. That's one thing I'm big on treating people right and just being pure and honest and loving on people. And
Good
also
person,
just doing the
man.
right things in society. Because
Yes,
he's
ma'am.
watching it, he's growing and he's learning. You know, so you just have to
Looking
do
at
right.
auntie,
Especially
man.
Oh, I don't
You gotta
play
stop
with
calling
my
him
baby.
nephew. You gotta call him like Neff's son or something like
I know,
that.
right?
Nephew dead, that's over with.
I know, right? That's my
Neff's son.
baby. That's my baby. So
But nonetheless, man, we're gonna wrap it up, right? We had a great conversation. I really
did.
enjoyed it. A lot of value. You know what I'm saying? This is sometimes you may not saying I've had it in particular, but just see some guests they don't either want to come and talk, just express or bring value. But I feel like you did a great job. Again, some more flowers
Thank
to you
you.
for everything that you're doing. I
Thank
love what you got going on. Keep pushing. I'm gonna say one, you're a black woman too, so big ups for that.
Thank you.
Setting the example.
Thank
But
you.
before we get up out of here, right? Is there any announcements you guys you want to say, or just any updates? You can find you on social media as well. Just anything you want to get to the people before you leave.
I don't have any huge announcements. There's no releases or anything. I do have productions coming up, but hey. But you can always find me on social media. Instagram is Savvy D. Everything else, all other social medias is Jasmine Hopkins. But that's where you can find me and just come on into my world. It's fun over here.
Oh yeah, make sure y'all tap in. But look, y'all, we had a good conversation today on the Inherit Podcast. Once again, thank y'all for coming back week after week. I am Sir Gates. You can follow me on Instagram at Sir GatesBC. That's SRRGATESBC. Make sure you follow the podcast page to watch his podcast too now.
Yes.
Inherited Podcast, NHERRTD Podcast. Go to YouTube, like, come subscribe, hit the notification bell. Until next time, man, we will see y'all. The Inherited Podcast, and we out.
All right.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For sure.